Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of the TV is a Real Mom. TV is
Oh,
a
you
Real
messed it
Mom
up.
podcast. I'm your host, Dave, as always, joined by my co-host, my sister, Katie. Katie, how's it going over there?
It's going good over here. How about over there?
Pretty good. I just woke up from a nap.
I figured as much.
So yeah, just waking up
So
here.
your mouth's a little behind your brain, or your
Yeah,
brain's a little behind. It's okay.
exactly. But yeah, here we are to talk about some more Survivor. And this was an awesome episode, right?
Yes, this was one for the ages, and it just kept going after the episode with the Ponderosa too, which I hope you watched. Have you watched it?
I haven't watched the Ponderosa, but I did watch. Is it just that music video? Is that
No, I
all it
mean they
is?
talked to Chris, but the very end is the music video.
Okay, yeah. I did watch, I think, most of the music video. I might have
Okay.
had to turn it off out of discomfort. Um, yeah.
So it's cringy for you. You cringe more than you laugh at something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Although it was funny, but I do question like how seriously Chris takes it. I think he does take it pretty seriously.
Well,
So
he said that he likes to rap to lighten the mood and make people have fun but there's a big part of me that he says stuff like that, but then I don't know. Maybe not so much the rapping. I believe in when he says the rapping is mostly for silliness and just for fun. But other parts of his exit interviews were like he says, for example, he said that it was Laurel's ego that was fragile when she was saying that stuff about him and not his. Like, he seems like such a nice guy. Like, in his word association with Gordon Holmes, he just had mostly nice things to say about everyone. But then he says these things where you can see, the ego is a little bit out of control. But he doesn't quite realize it. He projects it on, like projecting it onto Laurel, when Laurel was having the reaction any sane person would have had when faced with a person like that, you know?
yeah, totally. Yeah, when it comes to his rapping, like I don't mind his writing. Like he writes these rhymes
Right.
that are like they're kind of creative and there's like
They're still pretty silly.
there's silly little similes and stuff in there
Mm-hmm.
and like everything's like typical cliche rap lyrics, but
Right.
like I don't mind that. But yeah, Wendell is totally right when he says that like Chris has no business rapping because it's like
Yeah, no
it's all
flow.
it's all in his delivery. Yeah, he
Yeah.
just like he doesn't have the voice for it.
Right.
But like what he says is not bad. It's just his delivery is terrible.
Right, but the terrible delivery combined with the ridiculousness of who he is just makes it so fun to watch over
Yeah,
and
I
over.
mean, this episode was so amazing because it was like it was all about Chris and
Right.
it was just making Chris out to be as big, like to build him up as much as they could for his ultimate fall. And
And his fall was even more ridiculous, by the fact that he got JT's idol and left with it just like JT did. Like, that didn't need to happen for Chris to go out, like a chump, like a typical Chris kind of guy. But it just got even more ridiculous when he went to Ghost Island on that secret mission and then got the idol and he said, "Oh, I'm not going to make the same mistake that JT did." But he did.
yeah, it was just too perfect for his
It
character.
was written in the stars, I feel.
Yeah.
Like,
And
they couldn't have rigged that any better. I don't have faith in the Survivor producers enough to rig something that good. That was just poetry, Survivor poetry.
it was magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was definitely a tier 1 episode, hands
Tier
down.
1, very,
Yeah.
very tier 1. One of the more tier 1 episodes we've had since at least season 33. 34, nothing. 35, let's not go there. Definitely the best episode in a while.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Yeah, because like a character like Chris, like who you normally just hate a person like that, you still kind of enjoy him this season. And like you know the fall is coming, the inevitable
Mhm.
fall is coming, but you still don't want him to go. Like
No.
you're still like, I don't really want him to get blindsided, but it's too beautiful for it to not happen. So
It
like
had to happen this
it's a
way. It
sacrifice.
was always going to happen this way. Just like Jacob and the Man in Black, it's like a loop. It's always going to happen the way it's going to happen. I don't know if that made sense. It wasn't really a
Right.
loop in that, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But the rest of the season has to be really good gameplay and entertaining moments to make this sacrifice of Chris Noble worth it.
The noble
Like
sacrifice.
they're gonna have a hard time living up to this, but
Yeah,
at
I
least we
know.
have this episode.
That was my thought at the end of this episode was like, man, I think Catie might be right. Like this is building up to be like one of the best seasons ever cuz like this episode was just so great.
Mhm.
And like the potential like in
It's
this tribal
there.
in this tribal council when he's reading the votes, like the camera's panning around to each character's face and all their
Mhm.
facial expressions, and you're realizing like, wow, we have so many like awesome characters still left in the game. It's going to be fun
Mhm.
to see them battle it out. But like you said, I think it's going to come down to like um yeah, they're going to have to really fight it out and give us a good show, you know,
Mhm.
to keep this momentum alive because it could easily peter out like it usually does.
Well, yeah, but they still have 12 people left, and there could be some type of coalition that forms and they just knock people out. And I don't want to see that. But there's a lot going on, even though it ended up almost a unanimous vote. I'm still confused about why those Libby votes happened, but like there's little factions and I don't really understand who's with who because we didn't focus on anybody in this episode other than Dominic and Chris and Wendell and then a little bit of Libby. Not really though. It was mostly those three.
Well, they did show Libby and Jenna at one point
Yes.
to sort of set up this idea like, oh, you know who the real dangerous one is, Dominique, you know.
Yeah.
That's
That
why
that was a good scene. They were smart and I thought maybe they really were going to turn towards Chris, but there must have been an entire group discussion for everybody to vote Chris out.
well, yeah, I mean, I just think it's been a long time coming. I think
Yeah.
as much as Wendell wanted, you know, to talk to Chris and Dominique and get those two to agree on somebody on a Malolo person, I think
Mhm.
everybody else said, why do we need to do that when there's an obvious vote in Chris, you know? Um, little did they
Yeah.
know Chris could have pulled out his
He
idol and
could have
screwed
saved
them
his
all.
ass and Libby would have gone home with 2 votes.
Little did they know,
Yeah,
even in that case, you know, Navidi's ass was covered. Like they don't care if Libby goes home
that's
now.
true. They
Or
literally didn't know. Chris Noble apparently told no one, even after the show, about that little secret mission. I guess he told Angela during the game, but he didn't tell anybody, even after the show, what had happened because he wanted that viewing experience to be good for them. Like he has these like really sweet tendencies. You know what I mean? It's such a
I
weird
don't
combo.
buy that though.
You don't?
No,
He could be a big liar. Yeah, I don't know.
no, yeah, he's saying the reason he kept it from them was to preserve
Oh.
their viewing experience, but it was to preserve his ego. It was to preserve
Right,
his.
but it was a cool thing. He succeeded in getting the idol.
He didn't want them to know that he could have played an idol and went home,
Well, they
like
were gonna find
because
out.
it makes him look like an even bigger jackass. So he prolonged his.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I mean,
Okay.
I think that's a lot of Chris's motivation is to protect his fragile ego. But
Right. It's so fragile that but I don't know. He's a confusing case study to me. Like I could go on and on about what confuses me about Chris Noble, but we don't have time for that. And
I
it's
think
not
he's pretty typical of someone with a huge ego.
right. Yeah.
Like,
It's just
yeah.
so huge that he can act like he's not phased by it, but then some of the things he says betray that. Like he seemed particularly hurt by Laurel, Donathan, and Sebastian
Laurel
because he
Donovan
thought
Smash.
he had relationships with them.
Right. I mean, I could see, yeah, Donathan, he had his little moment with him, but that seemed fabricated and it seemed like Chris was.
Donathan sold him down the river real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Donathan came right back and he was like, well, they're going to vote you out. And then he turned on Libby and Jenna, who are through 2 Malolos. It's
Yeah,
weird.
that was weird. And for Dominic, I mean, how much have we really? Oh yeah, I guess there is that alliance. I think maybe Jonathan is locked into that
With
alliance with.
Laurel, Wendell, and Dominic.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's locked into that. That's a
That's
good
a fun
indication.
group.
Yeah. So I think you can watch for them to go far together because I don't
Well,
see.
not according to the preview for next week. Laurel's pissed
What is she pissed about? Dom keeping
that they
this
have. Well,
or
he
Wendell?
pulled out the legacy advantage, which she didn't know he had, and then Wendell's going to tell her next week he has an idol. So that's two advantages that she didn't know they had, and she just says they have too much power. But that could be a red herring. We've, you know,
Yeah, it definitely could be, but yeah,
she's right though.
I was wondering about this. Like Wendell seems to be in such a good position for the long-term game, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, okay, he seems to just be working with Dom. Like Dom is like the only guy he's really like he's just totally in with. And yet
I
Dom is going to be public enemy number one. And Wendell is, yeah, he gets along with everybody okay. And he'll probably go pretty far on that strategy. But eventually, there's not going to be that many people left. And it's
yeah.
like, who did he really tighten up with other
I
than
don't know.
Dom?
I think Wendell's probably good with everybody.
It
And
seems that way.
I think if they're gonna go after someone, they're gonna go after Dom, and then another target might emerge, and that'll give a chance for maybe Wendell to chill a little bit with Dominic gone. I don't know. I feel like if there's gonna be a casualty of that pair early on, it's gonna be Dominic.
Well, 100% I agree with that. I'm just saying Wendell being so tight with Dom and not really seeing him super tight with anyone else.
Maybe
Where does that
Dominic and
leave him?
Wendell were bonded by their hatred for Chris, and now he will spread his wings a little more.
I thought Wendell kind of liked Chris. That's why he tried to get them to get along.
I think he maybe saw that the Jeremy Collins strategy of keep the meat shields around, because Laurel and Donathan aren't really meat shields, and neither is Libby. So I don't think he'd care if they went anywhere. But
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely
so
keep
but
the
I
meat
think
shields.
it was it's like the first vote after the merge. That it's good if you can have a consensus like that. So he tried. He said, I'm going to try to get them to talk. If it doesn't work, they're going to vote him out. I think he wanted to vote Chris out anyway, but he wanted to at least make that effort.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure.
So, what is your take on those two votes for Libby? Because I'm not so sure that they were just backup votes in case Chris played an idol.
What was it? Desiree and Angela?
Yeah, who
Angela?
were two of the people that were talking about how they wanted to get rid of Libby?
Those were the two that voted for
Yeah, did
Libby?
they just go rogue?
No, looking at their faces in tribal council, it
Mm-hmm.
looked like they were like convinced that their plan was going through. They looked pretty
The
pleased
Libby
with,
plan?
yeah,
Really?
they looked pretty pleased with themselves. Maybe I have a bad read on it,
Angela's
but
face is always the same, though.
but Desiree and Libby kept, or Desiree and Angela kept looking at each other like kind of smiling and nodding, like, here it comes, Libby. And so I feel like they were sort of left out of the loop
So don't you think
intentionally.
Desiree's gonna be pissed if Kellen didn't even tell her what was going on?
Yeah, I
They
mean,
could both be pissed at Kellen because they both thought they had Kellen.
yeah, I mean, like I said, I could be reading it totally wrong. It could just be backup votes. Why did you have a different theory, or had you heard something or
No,
something?
what I've heard is that people are saying, oh, just without even like discussing it, oh, they're just backup votes in case. But that's not your typical backup vote in case someone plays an idol. Typically, you have more than two votes. Two is a small number.
Yeah, I could easily see them leaving Angela out because they're like, who cares about her? Desiree is a little more I'm like a little more skeptical about why they would just leave her out without, yeah,
Well,
telling her anything.
we'll find out right at the top of the next episode. If they're pissed, then we know they weren't let in. If they don't
Right.
even mention it, then we know it wasn't a big deal.
And you think that would land on Kellen if?
Well, I think that's who they've been with, and if she didn't inform them what the real plan was, they have reason to be upset. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but who's the fourth in that group? Was it Chelsea? I think it was Chelsea.
She was with them.
Yeah, there was a group of four that was around the well that was kind of
Yeah.
that was the key group that was going to that basically could have made it Libby if they wanted to, but
Mhm.
they decided to go with Chris for whatever
I think
reason.
Chelsea's actually with Dominic.
I could see that. I mean, they've been together quite a bit throughout the season, haven't they?
Yeah, except for in the middle there.
Right, but I think the last tribe they were on, they maybe
Yeah.
made some
I don't
plans.
know. I like the editing that surprises you and stuff, but I just feel like this season there's been so many pre-tribal discussions that would enlighten us as to what's really going on that just we don't see at all.
Right, and that's, I mean, that's the way
It's fine.
that's the way the show goes. They can't give us
But you
everything.
never
We'd
know.
know
Like,
exactly what was going to happen every
I
time if we
know.
saw everything.
But you never know if like exit interviews are if the people who were voted out who have reason to be bitter are telling the truth, you know?
Yeah.
No, they usually do, I'm sure.
So, dude, we were totally right about there being a jug of wine or like a wine jar. And Dominic actually made a toast with the jug of wine in hand. I mean, it was pretty crazy.
And then when he voted for Chris Noble, he said, "I'll see you on the other side, brother," or something like that. Not see you in the other life, but
he said, "See you on the other side." Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
Close.
Kind of crazy. And how awesome was that he yelled out Chris as his vote? He's like, Chris Noble.
That was the most entertaining voting situation we've had in a very long time. Normally the voting, I just kind of zone out, but it was very entertaining.
Right. I mean, Wendell's thing was amazing.
How many times did Wendell fold up his piece of paper and then he didn't want to keep speaking unless he had the paper open? So every time he kept talking, he had to open the paper again. So he like closed it and opened it like 5 times.
Well, that just like, I didn't even notice that's what he was doing, but like, yeah, that was such a nice, like, comedic, like,
it
touch.
Was good.
Yeah. It's just totally natural. It was amazing.
I love Wendell more than I've loved any survivor in a long time. I love him more than Devin, and you all know I love Devin. But yeah, I love him a lot.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I like him. I'm not, for some reason I'm not as like into him, but I don't know.
Maybe it's a girl thing. Like there's some handsome men out there, but he is the handsomest.
Wow.
One out there, in my opinion.
That's crazy. All right. Good advice though. Stop saying I, start listening, stop rapping.
I like how he said, because when he first said you're trash, I was like, geez, but then he opened it up and he was like, at rapping.
Yeah.
He's not just saying you're trash.
And I'll take that back. I'll say keep rapping, Chris. Like,
I think most people want him to keep rapping.
You realize it's silly, like, have fun with it. It's a joke. Like, you're not
going to be the coach thing. The coach thing was very similar. After he was voted out in Heroes Villains, they made a music video, him and Courtney and JT. And so now Chris Noble did the same thing. So they're very similar.
Okay, cool.
You gotta lean into it. Don't listen to Wendell.
I mean, there's so many good quotes from Chris this episode. I feel like we should like go over some of them.
Suave.
Oh, suave. There's that one.
To find that. Okay, so we can talk
pretty clutch, I feel like.
He was really invested in Dwayne Wade, and I'm like,
yeah,
Dwayne Wade's not that good anymore. Can't you find a more like relevant basketball reference from 2000?
Well, he's from Florida, and Dwayne Wade was big on the Miami Heat, and I think that's where he gets it from.
That's true. Okay, it's fair. Why is everybody from Florida?
I would love to compare myself to Dwayne Wade, but that's what he says.
By saying that, you compare yourself to Dwayne. Yeah. I like to think I'm pretty clutch.
Yep. There's so many good ones.
I think we also need to talk about, I mean, it's beating a dead horse at this point, perhaps, but just how bad his moves were in this episode.
I mean, I love the move of like going big and going for the Ghost Island. Like, you're out there playing Survivor.
Yes, that's the one good move, but there were multiple other bad moves.
I mean, most of his bad moves are the things he says. Like, the things that come out of everything that comes out of his mouth is a bad move.
Just like the discussion with Dom and Wendell just shut it down completely. Didn't even entertain the idea. Didn't even try to fake it, which I guess is something you can admire, that he's not someone who's going to fake it, but that's not good.
I mean, I feel like 9 times out of 10, the right move is to just say yes and to just agree with whatever they're pitching. Like, no matter how you feel about it, just say, Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Okay, which one of those are you thinking over there? And be like, well,
He
I'm
wouldn't
cool.
even look.
I would say I'm cool with any one of them. Who do you guys want? And
Mhm,
they'd be like, we were thinking Libby. I'll be like, oh, that sounds good. Let's do that. You just agree. I mean,
mhm.
9 times out of 10, that's the move. That one time out of 10, maybe it's gonna bite you in the ass, and they're like, they go to Libby and they're like, hey, Chris said, you know.
Yeah.
But most of the time, you just agree with what everybody's saying, and that's all he had to do.
They
But he did.
probably decided it really wasn't worth like, it's not sustainable, like, controlling Chris or, like, trying to get him to play along with you, so they might as well just cut him.
Yeah, I mean that's basically that whole scene was built around Wendell making that decision. He's like,
Mhm,
we might let's see if we can come to an agreement, or we might have to go nuclear option, and that's
mhm,
ultimately what he decided. He's like, well, I got to get this guy, and it was after the worst move of the episode, which was Chris's marching everyone to the well to give a big
mhm.
speech about how they need to get Dominic out, which he's been saying this whole friggin'
It's like,
time.
Chris, we know what you wanna do, dude. You don't need to" like, that was right after a commercial break, and I looked up from because 'cause I'm usually looking on my phone during commercials, and I see this line of people, and I was like, "What the hell? Are they going to a challenge or something again?" They just got done with one because it was just
Yeah.
a line. It was
Yeah, very
weird.
very strange. Um, but yeah, certainly just a terrible delivery. I mean, Steven had it totally right in the know-it-alls. It's like
Mhm.
you don't start off by saying like, "Hey guys, I just want to hear what you all think," and then continue to tell them what they all think or what they should do. He
Yeah,
didn't.
that's no
He,
good.
he tried to make it like it was an open form discussion, but it was in no way that,
Mhm,
you know.
mhm.
So, what other bad moves did Chris have? Was that it?
Well, those 2 were both pretty bad, but the worst one was not playing his idol
Oh
when
yeah.
the person he's trying to vote out has played an idol and you heard them write your name down and you're still if you know you're getting 1 vote and you have an advantage that can be only be played this tribal council and another one, you play it. No
Right.
question.
I mean, there's no reason for him not to play his
There's no
idol.
excuse.
He obviously was totally misguided about how people felt about him. He really thought everybody was on his side and they were voting for
Mhm.
Dominic. He thought it was a no-brainer to get out Dominic. And to be honest with you, I mean, I think if I was out there, I would really want to get rid of Dominic over Chris, but
Yeah, he's got those Boston Rob Tony vibes.
I would want that guy out of there. And Chris is predictable. He's straightforward. I feel like Jenna and Libby were the only ones with their finger on the pulse of that.
Yeah.
You're letting Dom get way too far into the game. Getting past this vote for Dom, he could make a real good run for it. Although
Well,
he's gonna be targeted. I mean, it's still gonna happen.
yeah, there's no way he's not gonna be targeted. I am a little bit worried for I mean, I don't mind losing Dominic because players like that,
Just
when
can't
he's
last.
surrounded by smart players like I think he is, some smart players, they'll get him eventually, but I
Yeah.
don't want Wendell to go.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think Wendell's looking out for him though, and Wendell's in good with everyone. So
I think
I
he
mean,
is. I think now I'm excited to see the next stage of the game because we won't just focus on 3 people, you know? Like, hopefully, they'll spread the love a little bit. Not that I didn't appreciate it this episode because it was amazing, but it'll be nice to see other people next week.
yeah, it's nice that this war is finally over so we
Yeah,
can move on with the show.
it
But yeah,
wasn't sustainable.
it has been great though, of
Yes.
course. But yeah, like I said, I think Wendell's looking out for Dom, so maybe Dom has a shot, in that.
Yeah, that's true. That might
Um,
help Dominic.
but yeah, what did you think of Chris's decision making in the Ghost Island game that he got to play?
Um,
I say you definitely go
you
for it,
definitely
right?
wanna go for it a couple
Because
times.
worst case scenario, you get that no vote, and I don't think the no vote is going to make much of an
When you've
impact.
got 13 votes, I think that's the best time to have no vote.
Yeah, it's like if everyone's voting with you for Dom, you got him anyways. You don't need your vote. So,
Apparently, he's the only person, and this makes sense, the only person to make the jury without ever casting a vote.
wow. So he made history.
Yeah,
Good for
as
him.
he should. He should go
Yeah,
down in history.
for sure.
Legends
Um,
never die.
but yeah, one thing, and this kind of shows that Chris isn't always the sharpest crayon in the box. The
From Canada?
he's like you got 5 on the left, 5 on the right. It's a 50-50 shot on each side.
I
I
didn't
mean,
even pick up on that.
think about it.
Come on, buddy.
You could have all 5 no votes, or even if they're I don't know if they're split 50-50 or whatever, but you could have all 5 no votes on the
On
left
one
and all 5 on
side.
the right.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make any sense at all.
So, were you surprised to see that there is actually no votes in some of those things?
No, but what I am wondering about is one of the notes said, um, you can use the note literally said you can use this at one of the next 2 tribal councils. So what if he drew another one? Does the next note say you can use this at one of the next 2 tribal councils? I thought they were supposed to build. So if it says, if each one says at one of the next 2 specifically, that's weird, right?
Yeah. What would he have gotten if he'd gotten one more?
It He couldn't have just accidentally drawn the one that said you can use this at one of the next
He
3
could
tribal
have. I mean,
councils.
it's theoretically possible.
Right.
It's
But
unlikely.
But yeah, let's say he draws another one that says you can use this at one of the next 4 tribal councils. Like I thought they were supposed to build.
Maybe it was mixed up.
So the wording of that was very odd to me. It made me
I
think
didn't.
maybe it
Yeah.
was
I have to go
staged.
back and look at it.
Made me think either it was staged or the intention was for each one of those notes you have that says one of the next 2, it implies that you get an extra one. I don't know.
Maybe it means the next 2 after the 2 you're already good for. I don't know. Oh, whatever. I don't want to
see what I'm saying though. Like
Yeah.
the wording makes you question whether or not it's staged a little bit.
I don't like that. Ever since last season, we question every week if something is staged or not
I will question it till the day I die.
because of last season, right?
No, I've been questioning whether certain aspects of Survivor are staged
I
for a
don't
long
think it's
time,
staged.
for the whole time. But
I have
I think
to go back and look at it.
I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows?
We'll never know.
We'll never know unless we go on Survivor and
Stop
find
it.
out for ourselves.
Speaking of stage, you know what that challenge was called?
Boom mic. Mic boom.
No, it's called Audio Slave.
Was it?
Yeah.
Aw,
And
that's
yeah,
sad.
it was actually an homage to the sound team because
It must have.
they held it like a boom mic.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that at first that's what it was like.
Yeah. That makes sense. Audio
Yeah.
slave. Huh.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Cool,
Was
right?
that like around the time that Chris Cornell died? When did he die? That was
Dude, it might have been. That's a good
might have been
question.
a tribute.
Last year sometime. Might have been a
Yeah.
little before,
I think it was last summer-ish,
Yeah.
which was when this was filmed. But anyway, I digress.
I digress. So were you excited that Kellen won the immunity challenge?
I was like, one of 13 people's gonna win this, and it's gonna be the one person. Oh, I didn't think she had a chance. When it got down to the final 3, I was like, damn it, I know she's gonna win it now. Because that's all we need is for her to emerge as some immunity threat. But,
Yeah.
you know, on a positive note, she might be targeted earlier now because she can win things, maybe.
Yeah, that's something to take away here.
Maybe. I was rooting for Libby, looked stone cold. I was like, oh, she's got it. But then she didn't.
Yeah, I feel like Kellen did win at the exact right time for her game, though. It's like if you're gonna win an immunity challenge, like win it early. When you're someone like her, win it early and don't win again for a little while.
Yeah, I think she better not win anymore.
They might forget she won this one, you know?
Yeah, because they were so consumed with the Chris Dominic thing.
Right. Yeah, I was really annoyed when Angela called her beast mode. That just really irked me. And then she's like, beast mode. Like she like laughed about, or you know, she acknowledged
She's not beast mode.
Nope.
Not that beast mode in Survivor terms is any kind of good thing, because beast mode cowboy certainly sucks at this game, but still.
Yeah, just annoying.
Very much so. I agree.
Okay.
I'm gonna need that to not happen again anymore.
Yeah, I mean, while we're on the subject, I should point out very quickly that I was right about who
that
went
Chris
home.
went home.
Yes.
Yes, you were right this week. I was right last week. Let's see if we can keep it going.
That's right. We've been alternating.
Yeah.
I was right the week before that too, I think.
Right. Oh boy, now pressure's on me. Damn it. Now that I know that, I'm gonna fail.
Now the ball's in your court.
So I have a question. Who snuck Sebastian some stony baloney before tribal council?
Oh
Because
man, yeah, he looked
kid
really
looked baked
baked.
out of his mind.
Well, it's either that or he's very tired because
So
maybe he's just perma stoned,
that's
and
what I
when he
mean. If
gets
someone
tired,
smokes a lot of weed, do they just like adopt that sort of like
yeah.
face when they're
um,
tired or whatever?
Speaking from experience,
I'm
yes.
just asking. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
they cut to him, and I was like, okay, do they have weed out there? Because
Yeah, no,
I
it's
don't
a
know
good
how else
question.
to explain his face right now.
Yeah, he did look really baked. But yeah, I think he was just really tired. And he's
Yeah,
got
that
that
makes sense.
and we know he smokes, so like
Well, he's told us, I guess, in a
yeah.
secret scene,
So
but he
that
still
makes it
told us.
it makes it easier to crack jokes about weed once you know somebody smokes weed, you know.
Right.
Because
Yes.
then you're always like watching for it. You're like, oh, he looks super baked.
He looked
Um
super duper baked. Even someone who didn't know that about him would see him and be like, okay, that kid's high.
yeah. So let's talk about that Sebastian secret scene. Did you catch that
No, I
one?
didn't watch it. Oh no.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. So there's this secret scene where he's talking about Donathan. And
Oh
he's like,
no. I didn't even know they knew each other.
apparently he loves Donathan. He compared him to Easter candy. And he said he wants to like he's like wrapped up in tinfoil and he wants to unwrap him and eat him or like, and he's like, I'm gonna take that Easter candy with me all the way or something. It was very weird. It had me questioning whether Sebastian's like bisexual or something,
Oh, we know he's
or
into Jenna.
yeah, I don't know, man. It was,
Oh,
I mean,
there was like sexual undertones.
it almost seemed like that. Maybe I'm just weird,
But
and
if he's like
at the
always
same, I think it's a joke. Like it's just a
okay.
joke. He's just saying Donathan. I like Donathan, and he's using his similes or whatever. But
So
um,
if he's high all the time, he probably always has the munchies, which is maybe why he talks about candy so much, like Laffy Taffy and Easter candy and
I would
whatever.
say yeah, 100% accurate. Yes,
Okay, I'm
all
gonna
the
have to go
way.
watch that and see if I pick up on the same thing
Yeah,
because
I mean,
that's
I
really weird.
definitely don't think it's like sexual, but
Hmm.
it's kind of the way it comes off is kind of
I
funny.
think Sebastian's more just like when he was even when he was talking about having those kebabs and how much he loved his burps. It's like he's just like super into everything that he talks about. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. When
Yeah,
he's talking, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's weird that he hasn't talked about Jenna like that. But he probably has. We just haven't seen it.
Right. I wonder what kind of candy he compares her to.
I don't think we need to know. It's fine.
Probably like those little Nico discs, whatever those. What are those?
What's a Nico
What
disc?
Waco
A
discs?
stroopwafel?
Yeah, maybe something. I can't think of that name of it.
A
Nabisco
Kinder egg? That's more like Easter
Nabisco
candy.
wafers.
A
I don't know.
digestive bar?
Yeah, that's probably okay.
A little Debbie?
Yeah, a little Debbie. That's good. I like that.
There's lots of
Um,
different kinds of little Debbies. I used to love fudge rounds.
oh yeah, yeah. There's they have like the fudge brownies, like just they're just the brownie, like the
I was never
chocolate
into the
brownie.
brownies.
Oh no.
I don't let myself buy little Debbies anymore because they're little diabetes, is what they
Yeah,
are.
well they're terrible. They're
They're
terrible
so
for you.
good.
They're not even that good. Like they're
Well,
like
some of
thinking
them
about
are.
eating one now, it doesn't even appeal to me, to be honest with you.
Sometimes I walk by them at Target and I'm just like, oh,
You
I
actually think
want.
about getting them still?
Yeah.
That's funny. What did you think about Wendell's decision to tell Dominic about his idol?
Um, that's his number one person, so I think it's fine. And I think he trusts him.
I
I don't
feel
think
like
Dominic will tell anybody.
I feel like he was genuinely concerned that he might be in trouble at this vote, so he kind of
Maybe,
saw it
yeah.
as one of his only options. Was like, "Hey, man, maybe I'm gonna have to play an idol for one of us, so I should probably fill him in." But I don't love.
Yeah.
I don't like the move. I don't trust Dominic at all. Like I could totally see Dominic turning on Wendell at some
That
point.
son of a bitch.
I could
He would.
totally see that happening. Yes,
You
he
know what?
would. Dominic is ruthless. He
Yeah.
is like Tony 3.0. He is so Tony and Russell. Like everything he's doing in the tribal
I
council in this episode.
like to compare Tony to Russell. I don't like that. But I
They,
understand.
they,
I see what you're
there's
saying.
they're definitely all in the same archetype, man. They're the chaos,
Yes.
they're the balls to the wall chaos players, and the ones who know how to talk to Jeff. Like he calls him Jeffrey,
Yeah,
and like
that's
he
true.
just his delivery and his speeches is just epic, man.
Yeah,
Like he's a huge character
he is a huge
and fits
character.
totally into that archetype of Tony, especially. I mean, I would even say Russell's one of the first of that type,
But
to ever
also
play.
one you don't want to be like in most ways.
One that you don't want around if you're in the game.
Yes. You
Get
want
him
that
out.
guy gone. You know what one of my favorite parts was during tribal council and the voting and everything? I really was thinking Wendell was going to play his idol. Because I thought it was going to be a close vote. And I was like, okay, Wendell, come on, come on. And then he just puts his toothpick in his mouth and that was it. I was like, oh, he's not going to play it.
That
But it was
was
badass.
that was smooth because I feel like it was a little bit questionable whether he was safe or not. So
They
yeah,
must have known. They must have all known.
yeah, it was pretty locked down, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see. You got anything?
Do I have anything?
Got anything?
Hmm. Hmm. I guess not. I'm trying to think. You'd think
How,
there'd be a lot more to talk about because this is such an epic episode, but
how about some more good Chris Noble quotes?
sure, let's hear him. Lay him on me.
um, let's see. How about uh, this isn't really a quote, but like when he finds that clue
Mm-hmm.
and he does like the Napoleon Dynamite yes,
Yeah,
he goes yes.
he did do that. I laughed at
like
that
a
too.
little fist
Yes.
pump.
Yeah,
Yes.
that
And
was
then
pretty precious.
when he's giving the big speech, he's like, "How is that not a great deal for everybody?" Like
Which deal?
just the deal of like, let's vote out Dom.
Mm-hmm.
Let's split the votes between Dom and Wendell. And I mean, how
Why
is
do
that not a
you
great?
think they stuck with Dominic? Was it just because Chris was hard to live with?
Yeah, I think he's just easy. Everybody wants an easy first vote, and Wendell's
Mm.
trying to pitch a different easy first vote. But here's one that everybody can already agree on. Like Chris is insufferable.
And why are Desiree and maybe it's just Desiree. I guess I don't know who's really agreeing with her at this point. But like why is she so still Navidi strong? Like that ship is clearly sailed and maybe it'll go back after getting rid of Chris, but like she wouldn't even she had to get him a Lolo.
Who we talk about, Kellen?
Desiree. I don't know
Oh,
if
Desiree. I'm
Kellen
sorry.
was with her, but I mean she was there.
You're right. Yeah, Desiree was mostly featured in that talk, like
Yeah.
as the one, like, oh, I'm gunning for Libby, and she did specifically say she's like the person I want out, which is Libby.
Mm-hmm.
So she wants Libby gone. So maybe that is part of the reason they continued to vote for Libby is because Desiree is strong-willed, and she's like, we're voting for Libby. And
Libby
they
looked
couldn't convince her to go along with the Chris plan.
okay.
She thought she had the other people convinced to go along with her plan. She wasn't going to budge, so they all just did what they were going to do. And that's
But
my
Libby
theory.
looked pissed that she got votes. So
Yeah.
now she's probably going to find out who it was.
Yeah. I mean, she's not in a great position. She should be expecting to get votes for the rest of the season.
Well, maybe now she will, but she didn't look like she was expecting it then.
I don't know how she couldn't be. I mean, come on.
So maybe they were trying to
right.
send Libby a message. I don't know, because
I think Desi wanted her out, and it just didn't. They didn't go along with her.
well, how do you feel about that? Isn't that kind of stupid?
That they didn't go along with Desi?
No. How do you feel about Desi and Angela just kind of roguely voting for Libby?
I think they might have thought that they had convinced Kellen and Chelsea and maybe one other person to vote with them, and they continued to vote that way.
Something tells me, yeah, they just weren't all the way in the loop.
Yeah, that's my running theory is that they were butting heads on what they should do.
Mm-hmm.
Desi thought she had won that decision, like, okay, so we're voting Libby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they decided, okay, they can vote for whoever they want. We're voting Chris.
Okay.
And, we'll see if that really bites them in the ass. Maybe it won't matter at all,
Right. Okay.
That's the theory I'm going with. I don't know. I'm just
Works
making
for me because I
up.
really don't think it's as simple as just a split vote.
Right. Okay. Um, let's see. What'd you think of Seabass's terrible tribal council answer? Actually, it sounded terrible at first, but
Because he
like
was
the
high.
yeah, the more I think about it, the better
What
it
was the
sounded.
question? And then what was the answer?
Something about like first impressions and meeting people again or something,
Hmm.
and he's like, yeah, it's like you're on the boat and that guy looks like a total douche, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
before you know it, you have a beer with him at the fillet table.
I love Sebastian the way he talks.
Yeah,
Everything's about food.
like he's authentically who he is, and he's just a
Yeah,
different character, and
I appreciate
he's
him.
awesome.
We didn't get very much of him in this one, but that's okay. There
Okay.
will be time.
Yep. More more Chris here. Some good Chris stuff.
Lay it on me.
In the tribal council when Dom and him are going at it. He's like,
Mhm.
I'm cool with it being a showdown. And then he like his face lights up. He's like
You know what? I'm glad that
he was like having so much fun in the tribal council where he gets blasted out. It's great.
I do think he kind of relished a little bit putting on a good show. So I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, Chris is great. Here's another one.
What's
Dom and I's frustrations are frustrations.
classic?
Yeah.
Classic. Yeah. What did his word is I liked his word association because unlike most people, he actually only gave one word. And there were only a few people he said something bad about. With Donathan, he said backstabber. And with Bradley, he said dick.
Yeah.
But with
Solid.
Dominic, he said respect. And it was nice that they hugged each other at the end. Like it wasn't mean or anything. It was done and it was fine. It
Dude,
was nice.
yeah, when he got knocked out, he was flabbergasted, man.
Yeah.
He forgot his torch,
He did.
which happens to several people when
Well,
they
he'd
get
never
put
been
up
a tribal council.
because they're so like out. A lot of people when they get blindsided like that,
Mhm.
yeah, they can't even
They black
think.
out. Yeah.
Like, yeah, when he went to Probst, he's like, "Thank you,
Thanks, Probst.
Thank you, Probst. Appreciate it."
And Probst says, it's time for you to go.
Yeah, as he's walking away, he's already halfway down the thing. He's like, "It's time for you to go." He's just gone.
Oh, poor Chris Noble. But the beauty of it is he is now the king of Ponderosa, and we get to see him on the jury all the time. So
Yeah,
that's good.
that'll be good.
I look forward to his jury speech.
One more thing Chris said that was funny.
Okay. We're going to
Dominic,
miss him.
yeah, Dominic was like, what do you say? Go get him, buddy, or something. And then he's like, thank you, bub.
Even to the very end.
Yeah.
Just,
it was great. Okay.
yeah. He was great. It's been a while since we've had a character like that. It sucks to lose. I don't really mind losing Bradley because he annoyed me. But to lose Bradley and Chris, boom, boom, is a little bit rough. But like I said, there's a lot of potential for the rest of the season to make that sacrifice worth it. But they've got a lot to prove to us now.
And Jeff put the pressure on him too at the end of Tribal Council. He's like, based on the way this Tribal Council went, you guys are going to have to play the game every moment of every day. So hopefully
they don't let me down.
Yes,
this was good, but don't slack off now.
Don't let it fizzle into a Game Changers type season, or
I will cut you.
So
he said this is one of his all-time favorite seasons. So, but I mean, you could even just have that episode, and that alone could make it one of your favorite seasons because it was such a good episode. But I have a feeling we have some good stuff coming.
Yeah. Do you want to put out any bad juju and say what would the darkest timeline look like, or do you want to just not go there?
Timeline? Well, my predictions are typically wrong, so I can do a darkest. But you mean like write it all the way out?
Let's put out as quickly as possible darkest timeline, like
order.
Final three.
Final three. Okay.
Darkest timeline, final three, and brightest timeline, final three.
Darkest timeline, in my opinion, final three would be Angela, Kellen, and Jenna.
Yeah. Okay, that's really good. That's good.
I'd be
Yeah.
really, I'd be rooting for Jenna, I think, because at least she's Malolo, and she's got that sea bass connection, and she showed some intelligence in this episode.
Right.
Not that Angela and Kellen haven't, but
How would you feel about a Seabass win?
Ooh, not great.
Yeah.
I think his face, even though he wasn't probably actually stoned, his face when they cut to him kind of says it all about where he's at in this game. But he did,
He's not into it.
well, that's what people say.
I can kind of see that.
But he did say he was going to go into the game playing the quiet fisherman, and that seems to be what he's doing. So
Yeah.
maybe he's waiting until the end. So I guess I should reserve judgment on everybody. But I do think those three, and Kellen would probably win, and then it would definitely be the darkest timeline for me.
Okay. Brightest timeline?
Brightest timeline. Let me see.
Wendell, Dominic,
Chelsea,
oh, Chelsea. Wow.
And Donathan, maybe, yeah.
Wendell, Chelsea, and Donathan.
I think Laurel would be good. I'd like to see Laurel.
But what if Chelsea wins out of the Wendell and?
Well, we'd have to see what. Again, it depends. She couldn't win unless she did something epic, and in that case, she'd probably deserve it.
Not necessarily. People win because of bitter juries.
Wendell is too likable, and Donathan is too likable for anyone to be super bitter at them.
Yeah, it depends on how he does Dominic. Dominic might be the champion against Wendell if Wendell turns on him or something.
But then Chris is there too. And what is it going to be? Chris against Dominic again at Ponderosa?
Well, I think that's inevitable. There's no way Dominic. If Dominic makes it to the end, he probably wins. But
I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. So you're going to have Dominic and Chris on the jury together at some point.
True.
Which will be cool. Cool to see.
It could be a Jeremy and Josh situation. I've recently been listening to the Evolution of Strategy for San Juan del Sur.
Oh my God.
And they were and Jeremy and Josh is one of those rivalries that people refer to, but maybe now you have Zeke and David as well. But like compared to what we just saw, Jeremy and Josh was nothing. Nothing.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. This is one of the all-time great.
It's for the
battles.
ages.
Yeah. And yeah, Steven and Rob are really onto something with that whole thing that like when you have two individuals that go to war with each other, they always get knocked out like back to back or within a couple votes of each other because it just draws too much attention to them and they can never really escape from that vortex, you know?
Right. The only difference is Dom does have an idol. So he could, bounce something up. But everybody knows he has an idol. So really, it's not going to work out for him. I don't know.
Right. Okay. Ready for MVPs? Sorry, you had something?
No. My MVP is Wendell. There was very few stars in this episode, but they shone quite brightly. But I'm still going to pick Wendell because he was the go-between. He had that amazing confessional. And he's not the one who's... Maybe he is going to have a little more attention on him now, but I don't think it's as much as Dominic. So he might survive a while past this.
Okay. This is a little bit unorthodox, but I'm gonna go with Chris because
that's fair.
Without him, this episode is nothing.
Exactly. Absolutely nothing.
And yeah, like we spent a lot of time talking about how terrible the decisions he made are, and all that stands and it's true. And in this one case, I'm gonna make an exception. And I don't necessarily always give my MVP to whoever played the best game and made the best decisions, but
true.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to base this decision on entertainment value and like just bringing so much awesomeness to one episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like this episode is built around Chris, and it was amazing because of that.
This is an all-time episode.
Yeah, I mean, Rob and Steven, sorry, I know we bring them up too much, but it's like they've sort of built into the fabric of like our
They are.
Survivor.
Anyone who listens to podcasts listens to them first before anything.
Right.
So
They're sort of built into the fabric of our Survivor experience at this
yeah,
point.
it's true.
So anyways, they sometimes they do stuff like building the perfect Survivor season one episode at a time based on like, okay, what's the best episode one out of all the Survivor seasons so
Oh,
far?
okay.
So like this would be a definite contender for best merge episode of all time.
Yeah.
But the
I
merge
know
episodes are the toughest. I mean,
people
to
talk
beat.
about Cagayan a lot, but I think this tops it.
Oh, it's just too good. The Chris
Yeah.
stuff is too good.
It's too it's like I said, I'm a little worried going forward, but there's nowhere to go but down. And hopefully it's
Yeah,
just
this
a
is a
little
peak.
bit down and then a plateau and then maybe a little bit up at the end. Hopefully it's not just a drop.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's possible. A
Yeah.
little dip in quality, but let's keep it solid, you know.
Yeah. Please.
Um
Please, Survivor Gods. This season's all about the Survivor Gods, and they are there. Like that whole thing wouldn't happen without the Survivor Gods playing some kind of part. So I don't
yeah,
know.
I
I
mean,
think they'll continue to bless the season.
yeah, if the producers don't tell them like, "Hey, you sit there, you sit there, you sit there."
Mhm.
Unless they do that, then Chris just happened to sit in the right spot with the right buff and it was too perfect, you know.
Yeah,
Who
of
knows?
course.
I'm pretty sure they don't do that, but who knows?
No, I don't think
Anyways.
so.
um who's going home next week?
I don't know. I think I might go with Libby just because she seems to come up a lot. So I don't know. I
Yeah,
think I'll stick with that. Even it looks like even Donathan is kind of against her now. So I don't know.
yeah, it's tough. I want to see somebody like Libby go home. But yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta be worried about all the contenders in the next episode. You gotta be
Mhm.
worried about Dominic, gotta be worried about
Yeah,
Mike.
Laura looks like she's on the warpath, or not warpath, but she looks like she's questioning her allegiance to Wendell and Dominic. So,
Yeah, so I'm a little worried about Wendell, Dominic, and worried about Michael as well, because Michael
hey man,
is,
he was really invisible this episode. He had like one thing.
but you know what his one confessional was.
Yeah, I don't want to go home.
No, it was like, I'm so happy to have made the merge. And they recapped his story. Like, I'm
Yeah,
only 18 years old and like to
I
be
want to be
here
the
is amazing.
youngest survivor.
Yeah. So like, I think he's got more story in him. Like, I
I
think
think so.
he's got a real shot. He's still got that story going for him. So,
Yeah,
they wouldn't have showed that, you know, they wouldn't have picked him to show in that part. I don't think if he didn't have some more to go. And he's the
true.
type that will play that idol if he is in trouble.
Yeah,
But that you could say the same about Dominic and Wendell. So regardless of any of those threes in trouble, what they'll play their idols, right?
yeah.
So I don't think you can pick any of them to go home.
It's gonna take some savvy gameplay from these girls to get them out. And if they do, maybe I'll even turn a corner on Kellen. Probably not, but I'm just saying.
Wow,
They,
I'm just impressed that you're open to that.
I'm open to it because they're up against, the three people who have idols are like three very charismatic and strong guys. That's gonna be tough. That's all. That's never an easy thing to do.
Right, that's a long row to hoe.
Yeah. Yeah, so I maybe the girl they're getting rid of guys. They've been getting rid of guys lately, so maybe the girls can band together. Maybe Laura will get something going. She'll reach out to that group of Angela, Chelsea, Desiree, and something will happen. I don't know.
Yeah, you make a
It
good
could go
point
any
there.
way.
You
Oh,
make a
so
good
many
point there that it's like they got three strong guys with idols to knock out. That's
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of guys
tough.
out of 12 people, man.
There's gonna be casualties from
So look at it
that.
as like there's a final three, there's 12 people left, so you only have like nine or
They need
so.
to start going for him.
You only have nine or so votes to get that job done. So you got to
Yeah,
start going for at least one of them. And it's got to
that's
be a blind side. They can't see it coming. So that's the question. Do they pull off the blind side next week?
and who do
Um,
they go for?
I like the Libby pick there, but I might throw it out there and go with one of these guys.
I can
Um,
see it, but which one would they pick? I don't think they pick Michael. I think Kellen has an in with Michael.
you think there's a shot that this could be just like Steven and Rob always talk about, and it's back to back You know, the
Dom.
people warring against each other,
I can
Dominic
see
goes out.
Dom being in a lot of trouble now. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Let me pick Dom just to shake it up a little bit. I doubt it because he's such a wily bastard, but
He seems really plugged into with a lot of people.
yeah.
But even he
But
was
Libby and
sitting there.
Jenna this episode are
Yeah.
talking about getting
As
him.
soon as they walked away, Libby and Jenna were like, I don't know
Yeah.
about that Dominic character.
Like,
So it doesn't mean anything just because they get along.
right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the point in the game where you start taking out people that are your best friend just
And I think
because.
Libby, I'm confused by her whole story because we don't see much actually from Libby, but everybody's like, oh, Libby. I don't know. Maybe she's got something up her sleeve. I don't know. I'm curious.
I don't know. I think it might be a little bit of that like dangerous flirt girl. Like she's too hot.
But
She's
they
too
never,
hot. You can't trust her.
but they
I
don't
don't
let her
know.
speak. They
Yeah, I
never let
know.
her
She
talk.
has no story in the.
That's weird.
Did you see her secret scene with steak? Like
I
she
haven't.
loves
Oh,
steak.
yeah. I did
Yeah.
see that one. Yeah.
So
But they
that's
didn't
like the
put that in the
most.
show.
But yeah, it's the most you see from her is in a secret scene. So it's like, and she loves steak. Okay,
Well, who
who
doesn't?
doesn't? Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
Vegetarian.
I'm gonna go with Dominic just for shits and giggles. I don't think that's gonna be right, but it's your turn to
Well,
be right.
pressure's on me,
Yeah.
so
So okay.
let's hope it's Libby. Even though I think
Okay.
there could be more story there. Anyways, that'll do it.
Anywho, okay. Yeah, that'll do it for this episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at TV's Our Real Mom. Give us a click on the thumbs up, the subscribe, and leave us a comment. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Bye.